When Nick Saban thought he wasn't going to be able to coach against Georgia and he showed up at the stadium, it gave his team a real boost of energy. Joining us now from his home in Tuscaloosa is the Alabama head coach, Nick Saban. Nick, first of all, how are you feeling this morning?
Feel great, really do. Treatment has gone really, really well. Never really was that sick, but feel just fine. Thank you for asking.
Well, what is the biggest thing that you believe your team will have to adapt to today without you physically being there on the sideline?
I really think, the game comes down to execution. I mean, the real part of the game that's most important, I think, is the preparation, for the game, which I think our players have done a really good job of this week. I think the only thing that's going to be missing is there are going to be circumstances and situations that could come up in the game that sometimes you have to make a decision on as a head coach, whether it's to go for it on fourth down or personnel decisions that may impact the game that you're just not going to be there to make. But I do think that we have some very capable assistants to be able to handle those situations.
I know you can't plan for every potential spur-of-the-moment situation, but how would you describe the conversations from a game management standpoint that you've had with Steve Sarkisian as opposed to the types of conversations you might have if you were going to be there?
Well, I think we always plan together with both coordinators on offense and defense and the special teams coordinator. So we're constantly putting a plan together that really has a unified philosophy of how we would try to go implement it in the game. So I don't really think that there's any separation in how we would view a circumstance or a situation that comes up or how we plan on playing this game. So most of the time games come down to how you execute what you do, not necessarily what you call. And that usually comes down to player preparation and their ability to go out there and play with discipline and toughness and sustain it in what is usually a very emotional game.
So, Coach, even though you're quarantined and can't leave the house, still suit and tie is that just a game day ritual?
I'm trying to be like you. I mean, that's all. That's the only reason for it.
If I was at home, I'd be in sweats if I were you. But hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you. I did a game earlier this year with Florida State and Miami, and Mike Norvell was dealing with what you're dealing with, and he couldn't be involved. He did during the week, but on game day he couldn't be involved. He couldn't be in a press box, in a suite by himself. He couldn't text. He couldn't talk to the team. What's your feelings on this unprecedented year and the way coaches who end up getting infected cannot be able to participate in any manner on game day?
Well, I think it's a reflection on the rule that we have relative to not having technology on the sidelines in college football, which is a rule we sort of all agreed upon. But I don't think we're showing much flexibility in the fact that rule was not created with COVID in mind. So now that we have a situation where people get infected and can't be there, it's not really totally fair that you can't have some communication with someone, whether it's in the press box or on the field or whatever, because it's a bit of a punishment for having an illness. And I'm not sure if you had some other illness,
exactly.
You'd have the same kind of circumstance. So it's a little bit unique, but I think these kind of things are not anticipated by anybody. So, we all kind of got to live with the unintended consequences sometimes of some of the rules that we have.
And the current rule says that once the officials take control of the game 90 minutes before, that's the last communication that a coach can have with his team. Nick, you mentioned a minute ago how emotional this game is, and you've had so much success being process-oriented and talking about not worrying about the outcome, but on your assignment right then. I don't know that I've ever asked you this. How do you approach rivalry games with your team when you know the players know the difference?
Well, I think I know the players know the difference, and I know there's going to be a certain amount of emotion in the game, but what we're always trying to create is a balance between playing with emotion and being emotional. I think when you get emotional, you make poor judgments and poor decisions. I think when you play with emotion and you can stay in that right psychological disposition of how you compete, then you have the chance to play the best. So I think it's a combination of having emotion, but also being process oriented and never losing sight of the fact that you have to have discipline in doing your job.
Nick, make sure that all 22 feet is working for you there to watch the game today, and I hope you continue to feel well, and we look forward to seeing you back on the sideline soon.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.